Welcome to part 2 of this series on Black dolls. If you are new to this series, I encourage you to first watch the intro video tagged below for context. I'd also like to warn that if you're easily offended by discussions about our unfortunate history in regards to slavery, and if you love Raggedy Ann but you do not want to hear her part in all of this, now would be a good time to scroll on. In her book, Racial Innocence, Performing American Childhood from Slavery to Civil Rights by Robin Bernstein, she describes racial innocence as a form of deflection, a not knowing or obliviousness that can be made politically useful. Bernstein describes the difference in attitudes held towards children in North America during the colonial period, the late 18th to early 19th century, and the attitudes that held true by mid-20th century. She writes that during the colonial period, Calvinists, who taught that glory and sovereignty of God should come first in all things, did not believe that children were innocent. They lived with the terrifying idea that children, who they believed were born with original sin, could die before they experienced Christian salvation, in which case they would endure eternal damnation. They believed that children were inherently sinful and sexual, even more so potentially than adults, who had learned through rationality and self-discipline how to control their damnable impulses. Due to these beliefs, high child mortality rates motivated parents to limit children's sinful behaviors by any means, and as early as possible, because a child so literally depended on the control of the body. Children were better whipped than damned, and parents who believed similarly sought to extinguish sexual and other misbehaviors through swift corporal punishment. As in, if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. Pain was a crucial tool by which to save a child's soul. Salvation depended upon two cofactors: the parent's administration of pain, and the child's reception of it. In the late 18th and early 19th century, a competing doctrine entered popular consciousness in which children were now believed to be innocent, meaning they were sinless, absent of sexual feelings, and oblivious to worldly concerns. However, by the mid-19th century, childhood was understood not as innocent but as innocence itself, not as a symbol of innocence but as an embodiment. The doctrine of original sin receded and was replaced by a doctrine of original innocence. This innocence was raced white. This pure child was the sentimental angel child, a dominant formation within American childhood where white children of the second half of the 19th century were considered virtually angels incarnate who, should they die in infancy, would transmute back into their angelic state. At the time, a white child's innocence was believed to be transferable to surrounding people and things, and that property made it politically usable. As in the 1852 novel Uncle Tom's Cabin, written by Connecticut's own Harriet Beecher Stowe, that transmission occurred when little Ava, the emblematic child angel of the 19th century, and the enslaved man Uncle Tom cuddled ecstatically in book illustrations. In these images, the proximity between the sentimental white child and the enslaved adult caused the white child's aura of innocence to extend to an African American character. Ava's and Tom's embrace made Tom, and by extension abolition itself, seem righteous, but the inverse political effect was equally possible. The white child's embrace could confer innocence upon not abolition, but slavery. To be innocent was to be innocent of something, to achieve obliviousness. This obliviousness was not merely an absence of knowledge, but an active state of repelling knowledge, the child's holy ignorance. However, not just any obliviousness constituted innocence. Rather, sentimental childlike innocence manifested through the performed transcendence of social categories of class, gender, and race. Innocence was not a literal state of being unraced, but was, rather, the performance of not noticing, a performed claim of slipping beyond social categories. Historians have shown that materials and practices that surround living children have unique abilities to recapitulate adult culture while seeming to deflect it. Fragmentary images or gestures often linger, altered yet recognizable, in the culture of childhood after they have receded or even disappeared from adult culture. One century's proverb becomes the next century's nursery rhyme. Today, riddles such as, "Why did the chicken cross the road?" are fixtures in children's popular culture, but these riddles originated in 19th century minstrel shows created by and for adults. Anyone who can correctly answer these riddles has memorized a part of minstrel script, and that transmission of that script probably occurred during the individual's childhood. 19th century childhood's ability to assert a state of holy obliviousness while retaining and recapitulating cultural memory was uniquely useful to the construction and maintenance of whiteness. Childhood innocence, itself raised white, itself characterized by the ability to retain racial meanings behind them under claims of holy obliviousness, secured the unmarked status of whiteness and the power derived from that status in the 19th and into the early 20th centuries. Childhood innocence provided a perfect alibi, not only the ability to remember while appearing to forget, but even more powerfully, the production of racial memory through the performance of forgetting.